Morning gang, I thought I'd just do a little hop on about the MDF surfaces, because we never ever talk about our art surfaces and what we use in the resin world. So I really love working with an MDF surface when doing mixed media art and resin pouring art, and I'm going to explain why I choose MDF over canvas. We're not going to talk aluminium boards because I think they're a whole different surface, but MDF and canvas in the resin world, and why I think you would probably prefer to work with MDF. So when we're working with resin, always, whatever the type of resin you're using, especially in artwork resin, it's designed to cure a little bit more quickly. And as resin cures, as you'll all know or have experienced, it shrinks back a little bit. So if you've made a coaster, on the reverse, you'll feel like a little bit of a dip, maybe a lip that you refer to it as. That's just simply the resin curing and shrinking. That happens on a surface. But if your surface is a canvas, what can also happen is there's a tiny bit of shrinkage around the outside, which can actually look a bit like a spider web or a little bit of a resistance pull, and always the resin is to blame. But actually, in a canvas, what can happen is the canvases have a gesso layer or a primed surface for us to work on. I know we prime canvases second 3 times, 4 times over before we paint or pour, but actually they have already got a very minimal layer of primer on them. That kind of also reacts with the resin. It can create a slippery surface, which means you'll notice a little bit more of a pull and a resistance. It can look a little bit like an oil slick layer, spider webbing, whatever you want to refer to it as, but it is incredibly frustrating when you've done a beautiful pour and then that happens. With the MDF, it happens a lot less. It's a porous surface. So what you want to look out for is in the first half an hour with the Apex resins, keep an eye on your edges. And if you find that where the resin is curing and pulling in a little bit, you're just going to pull it back out with a cocktail stick or an art tool, and that's going to correct itself, no problem. Another top tip that I would say when you're pouring onto a MDF surface is to just pour as much as you need and no more. So if you're one like me who always makes a little bit too much resin, and what you can do is pour it all on and then it just drips off the side, you're creating an additional bit of help for the resin to pull off from the other side. So I would always pour as much as you need on your surface. You're not only going to get that gorgeous domed layer with an artwork resin, but you're going to have a beautiful consistent finish across the whole surface, which looks perfect all the way along. Apex resins, as you know, are self-leveling, so you don't need to worry about if there's going to be any dips in the surface. There won't be. So with that in mind, I would always consider working with an MDF board. Now, they are porous. Whatever brand of resin you use, you may need to just assist the resin to pop some of those bubbles, because the porous surface contributes to more bubbles in your resin top layer. You're going to use a heat gun gently to pop those bubbles. If you are opting for an MDF surface, which I think you should do as a beginner, you can shop loads of different shapes and sizes over on my website. I've got loads to choose from. The hearts are being restocked today. You guys have been waiting patiently for the hearts. Let me know in the comments how you manage resistance, and just note that that is normal. It's just how we manage it to get the best finish. In my experience, I never really go in and prime an MDF board like this. I just go straight in with my resin pour. Now, confidently, I am going to say if you are using Create and Bloom pigments and Apex resins, you really don't need to prime your MDF surface first. The pigments, unless it's the transparent tints, the opaque pigments are very opaque and they're going to cover the surface well. So make sure you're using the correct amounts and you're going to get a perfect clean covering on your pour right away, no problem. If you want to be really professional and you do want to up your game and you think you need to do a primed layer, you're going to use gesso, acrylic paint, something like a white household paint. But the most important thing to do is make sure that primed layer is dry. Now, it's going to feel touch dry, but that does not mean it's dry. I would leave it a few days before you come on in with resin. Resin and moisture do not get on, as we know. And so that would be my top tip if you do choose to prime your MDF surfaces first. Anyway, I am so pleased they're all back in stock. I'm sorry I kept you waiting. I hope you grab them tonight. Sending you lots of love.